Well, I've been having a lot of students not attending, but they're still in the course. They're taking tests. This is the only person that hasn't been present. Yeah, I'm gonna let them in a few minutes. I'm gonna let these people in. I don't know where the rest of my folks are. Hi. How are you, Amanda?
I'm good. How are you?
Good, good. Don't you look comfy? Hi, Katori. How are you?
Hi. Good. How are you?
Katori, you have a camera?
I do. I can turn it on real quick.
Okay, yeah, it sort of makes it like we're communicating
In
more
real class.
effectively. I have a feeling the two of you might be the only ones attending. Some, for example, some people I know are working because they have emailed me, but some people were attending and all of a sudden they decided they didn't want to attend anymore, but they're still going in. They took their test. Now the test closes tonight. So I believe both of you took your test. I have one person that's working and I met in Zoom with her and she's all caught up and she says she'll make sure she takes her test before it closes tonight. Other than that, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 of us in this class. One person looks like they're no longer attending. So that makes 8. And out of the 8, 2 are attending Zoom. But we'll see how long they're able to hang in there. Okay, I know, but I'm gonna meet with the two of you. So any questions before I share my screen? Good. All right. So I know both of you took your tests. What I'm going to be doing is going in there and manually grading. I think it's like 4 essay questions that I have to read and give you the credit for those essay courses. Oh, we lost Katori. She'll probably come back in. Yeah, she probably lost her connection. So let me go into our course. Okay, so what I did is I took the course outline that's in the syllabus and made a new link for it so that you don't have to go all the way into the PowerPoint, into the syllabus to get our timetable. We lost Katori, but I'm going to continue. I made an update here. So I'm still telling everyone that this is the most current course outline because we hadn't started. Oh, this isn't the most current. Well, yes, it is. Yes, it is. On February 16th, I was hoping to start workforce, but we won't be able to start workforce until today. So I'm going to spend the next couple of weeks now. We're missing a week because we'll be on spring break. Okay, so when we return from spring break, I should be wrapping the workforce staffing PowerPoint up. So this is just extending the workforce staffing PowerPoint. This is last week, which I finished up on chapter 13, and I only tested up. Katori's back. We're bringing Katori back. I'll wait until she connects and I'll let her know that this has been revised. Okay, Katori, you're back. If you go to Canvas modules, I have a course outline link and I just revised our course outline. So if we go out of here, and if you go to modules, there's a link right underneath the syllabus labeled course timeline. You click on that, and I made a revision. I was telling Amanda that initially I should have started the workforce staffing PowerPoint on February 16th, but I didn't finish chapter 13 until last week. So test one was only on chapter 13. Today, I'm starting the workforce staffing PowerPoint. Then the following week, I'll continue on the 9th. We have spring break for a week. And that Tuesday, when we come back after spring break, will be the 23rd. So again, we will be on spring break. So we won't be meeting on the 16th. See there right there? March 16th, we'll be on spring break that entire week. So I want to wrap up the workforce staffing by March 23rd. At the end of this PowerPoint, we go into diversity, and then we're going to cover our leadership chapter, and you'll be tested here. We'll see how far I would have already covered some leadership. So whatever we've covered in leadership will be on test 2, and workforce staffing will be heavily on your second test here. But you'll know basically, what I'll be testing on once we get to April 6th. And then I will open that test on or about April 6th, leave it up for a week, and then we'll just continue, okay? All right, so let me get to workforce. So I want to focus on workforce. So I'm going to go to the module, scrolling down, and I believe we're being taped. Let's see. You should be able to see if our course is recording. It should be. Yes.
It's recording, yeah.
Yeah, good, good. I know students are able to see that recording button a lot easier than I can. Here's your workforce PowerPoint. So that's what we're going to focus on over the next several weeks. And once this opens, if it takes too long, I'm going to download it. I'll give it a couple minutes. I'm tired of waiting. I get like that impatient. Now I'll probably have to share my my screen, because you can't see that PowerPoint, can you? Nope. I'm gonna share it. Now you can see it. All right. Yep, I gotta share it again. It knocked me out. All right. Go to my first slide here. Okay, so you can see the PowerPoint, correct? Good. Workforce. This is available to you in this particular PowerPoint. You should be able to describe the different categories of workers that are in the food service department. You should be able to differentiate between your regular employees and your contingent workers. That's just another term for a variety of different workers that aren't considered to be regular or full-time. So you'll see the difference. We use a variety of different types of employees in food service. We have some full-time, part-time, some short hour, some casual employees. So, and this in some cases makes it a little bit more difficult because your staff is not always consistent in a food service department. If it is a commercial food service operation, it could be seasonal. But Katori, your dietetic technology or hospitality?
I'm dietetic technology.
Good, yeah. And our hospitality students on Zoom right now, but we have hospitality students in this course. So I cover commercial food service, I cover institutional, okay? And those are the main two categories. Both of you will be taking food service operations, hopefully next semester. If I haven't met, going over your curriculum for what you may be taking in the summer, but definitely both of you will be taking courses in the fall. I'll make sure that you're taking your courses in the correct sequence, and food service operation would be a course that you would take after food service management. So in that area, we'll talk more about different types of food service operations, okay? You should be able to discuss the advantages of job sharing. So we need to learn how to job share in the food service department. And job sharing could mean a number of things, from maybe even cross-training or sharing a full-time equivalent where somebody may go to school. And they go to school, they have a 2:00 class, but they want to work from, like, I don't know, 6 in the morning to 9 o'clock in the morning. And they can, and then there's another person that works in the food service department that has courses in the morning. So as a food service director, I can share, two people can share the same full-time equivalent, meaning 8 hours. Somebody works 4 and the other works the other 4. So that's how you can also do it. So there's a number, and we need that flexibility in the food service department. Some food service departments don't have it. I've had students that are taking courses and their supervisor does not work with them. And I feel bad because they're trying to further their education. Sometimes I think that their job is almost doing it on purpose. They don't want that person to get ahead. You know, maybe that's not the case, but they should be flexible. And we're going to talk about that. I think a job should be flexible when it comes to raising a family, when it comes to you having to go to school, even if you have another job. You know, the minimum wage is a big controversy. It's been a controversy for years. But again, if somebody's making, now minimum wage here in New Jersey has gotten better, but the federal minimum wage is still $7 and something. That's sad, isn't it? So there's some states that you go to and they're still following the federal hourly rate, which is sad, very sad. Here in New Jersey, they're gradually bringing it up to $15 an hour. I think they're at $12 an hour, 12 something. Anybody know that rate now? But it has gone up. It's gradually going up. And there's many of our students that are taking courses, they're making minimum wage. That's why they're at the community college, because they're trying to learn a career so that they can, again, make more money. But my heart goes out to anyone who's only being paid $7 and something an hour, okay? It's really hard. So then you should be able to differentiate between exempt and non-exempt employment status. We'll go over the two definitions, and you should know, what the differences are. You should also be able to describe the differences in payment of hourly workers and salary workers. And many of our food service workers, these hourly workers, we start them out at minimum wage. Now, there are some food service operations, depending on their budget and so forth, can start someone out above minimum wage, okay? But it varies, it really does. And of course, we'll talk about who's typically salaried, okay? You should be able to describe compensatory time. We call it comp time. So that should also be another area of flexibility if somebody, particularly if they're salaried. Because just to tell you, if you're salaried, you don't get overtime. Yeah, if you're salaried, you don't get overtime, but you should be able to, if you have to work additional hours, at least give you that opportunity to come in later or leave earlier based on that additional time that you worked, okay? You should be able to state when and how differential wages are calculated, because as a food service director, manager, you need to know how your staff salaries are calculated, or their hourly rate, how that's calculated. And if they are getting overtime, if they're getting holiday pay, you should be able to do a quick calculation to show them how that works. Yes, human resources would really be able to give them that information. But as a food service director, I would sit with my employees. If they came and asked me a question, they'll say, now, if I worked a holiday, you know, what does that mean? And I would sit down and explain to them that they would get time and a half. Sometimes people used to confuse time and a half with double time, okay? They thought they would get paid twice the amount they would per hour on holidays, and I would calculate and show them how that's done. Then you're gonna learn about how to calculate FTEs. This is something that you're tested on in your national exams. May it be sitting for the DTR exam or sitting for the RD exam. They always love to throw in some FTE, calculations. So that's covered in this course. And then you should be able to define diversity in the workplace. This is when we start transitioning into our chapter 14, which diversity is covered. So, and then you should differentiate between affirmative action and equal opportunity. This is basically covered in chapter 15 when we get into human resources, okay? Discuss the advantages and disadvantages of workplace diversity, okay? Diversity, again, moves into chapter 14 on leadership. So let's talk about the types of workers. Professional staff. Now, once you, you're going to pass your DTR exam and you will be a professional. You'll be a DTR, a dietetic technician registered. And therefore, when you are hired by different, organizations, you're going to be typically, and I would say in most instances, salaried. You're a professional staff. You also will learn about professional staff next semester when you take, Katori took it. You took dietetic foundations.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yes, and we talked about the professional. I believe that was in chapter 2 in your dietetic professional book. Okay, so Tori's going to really remember some of this information, because we also talked about professionals in dietetic foundations, because as a DTR, as an RD, we're professionals. What makes us professionals is that we have extensive formal education. So if you just look at that extensive formal education, that means that you have gone to an accredited college or university. And in this case, you're at Camden County College. You are you're in the dietetic technology program, and you will earn an associate's degree in applied science. And our program is also an accredited program, meaning that it meets ASCEND educational requirements, and therefore you will qualify to sit for the DTR exam. So you definitely have extensive formal education in the field, and that's the field of dietetics. You have acquired the knowledge and skills to make independent judgment. That means that you will be the expert. So when they hire you, they come to you because you're that expert when it comes to nutrition. You're that expert when it comes to, training the food service employees. You'll know about scheduling employees. You'll know about inventory. So you'll know all the operational requirements in running a food service department. As a DTR, you'll be able to work under that RD. So that RD will ask you to do assessments where you will gather information on different patients. So you can work with that RD. So again, you have to be able to make independent judgment. So you're a self-starter. Nobody micromanages you. Like nobody micromanages me. I don't want to say this, but I just do whatever I want to do because I'm the expert in my field, okay? And so when you get hired, you, in most instances, will only be that person that really knows how something should really be done. And you train your employees in the food service department because you want them to be, self-reliant. You don't want them to come to you for every little thing. No, you teach them their job so that they are an expert on their job if they're trained well. So you don't have to do a whole lot of just watching. If you got to watch somebody, throughout the day, something's wrong. If you don't trust that they're going to do their job correctly. It could be a darn dishwasher. I don't care what their position is, and you're afraid that dishwasher is going to put the wrong detergent or the wrong amount of detergent in a dish machine. Something's wrong after they've been trained how to run that dish machine. If you're afraid that that person's going to cross-contaminate, that they're not going to wash their hands before touching clean utensils and plates. And if you have a dietary aid that isn't going to serve the right diet to your patients after you've trained them, sad to say they got to go because they've been trained. Now they should know how to do their job. Yes, they can come and ask questions. Yes, we do monitor just to let them know that we're still making sure they're doing their jobs correctly. But you're that expert. You're expert. And you should be able to function in the field with minimal supervision. Now, At the college, the dean of our division is directly over me. The only time the dean really comes to their department heads is when there is a college change. You follow what I mean? Of some sort. But when it comes to how our department and what information and what for example, at 3:30 today, I have a department meeting. That's up to me what our agenda will be at the department meeting. Now, the dean might say, oh, during your department meetings, I want you to inform your staff of this or that, okay? That might be college information. Other than that, you know, they minimal supervision, okay? Minimal supervision. Now, when you graduate from this program, you will be entry level. And entry level, again, is you're going to be taking a position that may only requires you to have that associate's degree in dietetic technology and be a DTR. You have passed the national exam. But other than that, you're fresh. You're fresh off the assembly line, okay? But you they may say that maybe minimal requirements might be your associate's degree in dietetic technology and that you're a DTR. Sometimes they want you to have possibly a year or two experience under an RD. And to tell you the truth, many of our graduates have that because they've had the practical experience. They put that on their resume and that adds as having experience. So you do get 450 hours of practical experience. Hello, did somebody call? Yeah, somebody had called the house. And Patrick, but I didn't answer it. Sorry about that. Okay. All right. So entry level again means that you may have less than a year of practical experience, but it's just entry level knowledge. You don't have a lot of past experience. Continuing with professional staff, you have a specialization. And again, you have that in-depth knowledge and skills in a narrow area of a profession. We make sure that our students have knowledge in not only nutrition, you have knowledge in life cycle nutrition, you have knowledge in therapeutic nutrition, you have therapeutic 1, therapeutic 2. So you are familiar about different diseases and complications that are associated with nutrition, and you will have a very good foundation on what diet adjustments should be made in order to manage different diseases. Then you'll be familiar with the nutrition care process. But as a DTR, you are trained to work under an RD. In many instances, RDs will delegate this, a lot of their responsibilities to you, okay? Then when it comes to the food service department, you should be able to direct or manage a food service department. So again, you're able to go into different areas within the dietetic profession. General professionals are assumed to prefer participative management. You participate, you attend meetings, you would be representing your field of expertise. So anything that applies to, the meals being served to the patients, it would be one of us, either that RD, DTR, it could be the food service manager, that would be participating and discussing how we would incorporate our services into that overall plan of the organization. Now we have supervisory personnel, and automatically an RD and a DTR does have some authority, but we have to follow the organizational structure. If I'm a consultant dietitian, I advise and make recommendations, but I don't have authority unless they delegate that authority for me to go in the food service department and start telling the staff what to do. Because now I'm stepping on the feet of that food service director, okay? Yeah, so you have to know the organizational structure, and we talked about that in chapter 13. As a DTR, you may be part of that authority. It just depends on how they structure you. If you're going to be, you can be full-time or part-time, but that means that you have authority to go into the kitchen and tell the employees, what to do, what not to do. Because if that's your position, being the food service director, you can be a DTR and be the food service director. So again, in that organization, you have the authority, okay? So supervisory personnel, again, individuals with authority, there you go, to oversee and direct the work of the subordinates, as well as having responsibility for their own work. So as a DTR, you may be working under the RD. The RD could be a consultant just coming in once a week, but you work for that organization full time. So on the days the RD comes in, you would work with that RD to assess, or you would do some assessment work. And then by the time the RD comes to the facility, you would have already assessed those patients for them. And then you would give that information to the RD. The RD can now come up with a nutrition diagnosis, write a PES statement, come up with intervention, and then the RD will say, this is the intervention. And then you could also take part in that intervention. Some of these terms are new to you, but you'll know what I'm referring to later when we get into the nutrition care process. So that's part of having your own responsibilities. But you may have responsibilities working under the RD. You may have responsibilities as the food service director or working under that food service director, because that food service director may use that DTR as like the assistant supervisor. Their days off, you step in to run the kitchen. But a lot of times the DTR runs that kitchen, okay? And then when the RD is in, they'll work with the RD on that particular day. So you have other responsibilities, but yet you still have authority to oversee your staff in the kitchen. Now, skilled workers. Your skilled workers are those who have acquired a skill. Years ago, we used to try to hire people and train them for that skill, But we don't do that anymore. I wouldn't recommend that. If you want certain skills, for example, you want a chef or you want to cook, you would want them to go to a culinary school, or you would want them to go through some type of certificate program where they learn those skills. Training them within that food service department, you're not going to get that level that you want. So when you write your job specifications, I recommend that you hire someone with a number of years of experience cooking in a food service department. But better yet, I would try to get a graduate from a culinary school or from a technical school that was actually trained those skills. Some people are self-taught. I'm not saying that they're not a good hire, but sometimes they've been taught not to do things correctly. And then when you hire them, they are so set in their ways, and they're not willing to learn how to do it a different way. And they'll come out and tell you, they'll say, this is the way I've always done it. And you're saying, yeah, but now you're in healthcare and you can't use that much salt when you cook. Then they'll say, well, how is it going to have flavor if I don't add salt? Now you've got to retrain that person all over actually how to cook with minimal amount of salt. So again, you want to write these specifications so that you can bring in candidates that are going to be close to meeting those requirements that you're looking for. So that skilled work, individuals who have a special training or skills to perform a specific job. Again, we don't have to do the training ourselves anymore. Some places have training programs that you have you can hire people and they can go to workshops and actually train for 6 months. The casinos, I know that when I was at the Academy of Culinary Arts, they had a training program, and for a number of years, I enjoyed it. They would either bring me to casino and I would do some training, or they would send them on campus at Atlantic Cape Community College and they would get some training there. So it was a nice partnership where we were part of the training. But again, you want a cook or a secretary. Definitely the exterminator, you want someone that's licensed, and it would be an outside contract for your exterminator. We'll talk more about that when we get into ServSafe, but you wouldn't want to hire a secretary for your department if they haven't had formal training. Because again, when it comes to typing, I never had formal training as typing. I type, but I don't. I still peek at the keys. And if you still peek at the keys, come on, raise your hand. You don't have to look at the keys. Okay, I'm guilty. Oh, you're good, Amanda. You can unmute. Your skills are pretty good in typing.
Yeah, I don't really know how they got to be so good, but like I don't have to use the keyboard to type. I type easily.
Wow. Did you have keyboarding in high school?
I mean, in elementary school we definitely did, but I don't think we did in middle.
That was the start of it. See, I had typing. I know people say, what is typing? They call it keyboarding, but back when I was in high school, we had an old-fashioned typewriter. And I never focused on being, now my husband does good. He types like this. Me, I'm like this. I know, but again, that's my own fault. Because I'm able to manage and get documents typed and whatever, I don't worry about it. But I peek at the keys. I shouldn't, but I do. Again, usually do not need micromanagement. That's what I mean. You want somebody that already has those skills so that you're not constantly checking the typing of their work. Yeah, again, they shouldn't be making grammatical and typing errors on your documents and reports and whatever they're typing up. They could be typing the menus up in your department. I'm just throwing some things out, typing the schedule. So again, you shouldn't be worried about those errors. Definitely with a cook or chef, you know, they should know how to chop and dice up the vegetables. They should know how to follow a recipe. I'm just saying, yeah, you should not be, that should be their areas of expertise. And what does micromanagement mean? The act of providing intensive supervision to someone under you by constantly checking and verifying their progress. If you're constantly checking and possibly finding errors and having to correct them and so forth, like I said, you need to hire somebody that's more proficient. Okay, yeah, especially when it comes to these skilled workers, you want them to know their skills. Now, it's your unskilled workers. In the food service department, we are hiring people with little or no experience in the food service industry. We could be hiring high school students. We could be hiring somebody who's never been in the workforce. It could be a single mom, all right? And this single mom never had to work. Or somebody, there's a lot of people out here with no skill that they can actually say that this is my skill, okay? This is what I went to school for. So therefore, they would take a job that they can be trained to do. So they'll train them, they'll hire you with the understanding that you'll be trained. Again, employees who bring no marketable skills to the job and are trained in the workplace to perform required tasks. Your prep cook might be unskilled. Your dishwashers, your pot washers, your dietary aides in many instances are unskilled. So when you're in a food service department, you'll have the professional, and that's that RD or DTR or the food service director. And then you'll have your chefs or your cooks. They'll be your skilled. And then you have unskilled workers. Your cashiers are unskilled. Your wait staff are unskilled. Okay? I'm just naming some possible unskilled. There we go. Receptionists, cashiers, food service workers. So food service workers in general are unskilled, and we have to train them once they've been hired. Now, some of them will come with some experience, and there's nothing wrong with that either, okay? Not always appropriate to use participative management. The reason for that is that many times they, let me see how I can put this. They're not used to participating. So they should be part of a department meeting. But if that food service director or that DTR or RD asks them, do you have any ideas? Many times they'll sit back and feel they may not have anything to contribute. but they can surprise you, and you'll have one of your food service workers raise their hand, and they'll say, you know, when it comes to the tray cards, I think we should come up with a better way of a different type of tray card. They're working with these tray cards, and maybe the tray cards, I used to have the laminated ones. They used to be able to fill them out, and then they had this plastic that would go over it so that they can be wiped and sanitized, and we can put them back on the tray for the next meal. But prior to that, they just had like a cardboard, and they used to have to rewrite them like for every meal, because they would get wet and spills would get on them. I'm just throwing that out. But your unskilled workers, they can participate, but not always appropriate, meaning they may not always be willing or feel that they have anything to contribute, but we make sure that they have the opportunity to participate. Does that make sense? Yeah, they should always have that opportunity to participate. Now let's talk about full and partial employment status. Full-time employees, it varies, but in this course, we're going to use the 40 hours a week. 40 hours a week used to be definitely our standard, but through the years, there's some places 35 might be full-time. I've heard 37 being full-time, okay? I haven't seen over 40 being full-time, but definitely they can drop it under 40 and consider that employee full-time. Individual who is designated to work a certain number of hours a week, that is considered full-time. So every place should have a specific criteria for what is full-time. Okay? My employees, when I ran my department, they were 40 hours a week. At Camden County College, full-time is 35 hours a week. Even though I'm salaried, if you break it down, my salary is broken down to 35 hours a week, okay? All right? Even though I'm salaried and you see me working from home, I can start from 8 o'clock in the morning and finish at 9:30 at night. But that's just being said. What is part-time? Individual who works a certain number of hours a week that is less than what is considered full-time. It could be 39 hours, and that person could be an hour off a week from being full-time, and that's what you would be considered part-time. Now, full-time usually means that you have benefits. Part-time, in many cases, you don't have those benefits that a full-time would have. All of this has to be clearly defined and available to you at your place of employment. It should be very clear what full-time is, what benefits you receive, and what part-time would be. And part-time is typically under that full-time number of hours per week. Short hour. So in food service departments, a short hour would be even less than that part-time person. An individual who works a predetermined number of hours a week that is less than half-time, typically less than 20 hours a week. And this is good because in the food service industry, we have a tendency to have somewhat of high absenteeism. okay? We definitely don't want anyone to come to work that's sick. We've said that for years, but we used to let people work when they were sick. Not supposed to, especially not with COVID. Everybody follow what I'm saying? You got a temperature, you got a runny nose, you're to stay home. Stay home. And what is the food service department to do? You should have some people that you can call in to cover for somebody who is suddenly not well. Because we should not be telling a person, oh, come in anyway. No, we don't do that, not now. And we shouldn't have been doing it prior to COVID either. Casual, a worker who is not guaranteed any set number of hours each week, but who is scheduled to work as needed. So the short hour and casual could be one of the same, but you need to have that flexibility within your department. You need that flexibility. A lot of departments go with shortages. Someone called out sick, but in a food service department, we still have to serve that clientele, whether it's residents at a long-term care facility, residents at assisted living. They're there 24/7. And we can't all of a sudden serve them a partial menu. We can't say, oh, we shorten the kitchen. So instead of them getting the roast beef, mashed potatoes, green beans, and that whatever dessert it was supposed to do, we're just going to give them mashed potatoes and green beans because we didn't have the staff to cook the roast beef. We can't do that. And our facilities are also under certain regulations. They're funded, and that means that we have to meet certain criteria on a day-to-day basis. Because if they find that we're not meeting those criteria, we can be penalized. Grant money, any subsidies that we're receiving, that can be pulled from us because we're not following the guidelines that they require. Plus, as an RD or a DTR, ethically, we can't let that happen. Can you imagine being short-staffed in the kitchen and you decide to break the menu in half? You only get half a menu. So let's choose what we feel we can do, with the number of people we have in staff now. That whole entire menu has to be prepared and served to that staff. So again, there's no such thing as a shortcut when it comes to a food service department. We can't not wash the dishes. Can you imagine? We don't have a dishwasher. So we're serving food, we'll leave the dishes stacked on the counter, and hopefully our dishwasher will come in tomorrow and wash the dishes. No, no. So we cannot not sweep and mop the floor, and we can't, everything in a dietary department has to be done no matter what. And that's what makes our business very, what would I say, difficult if we don't have enough staff. So we need to have a variety of different ways to get that job done. Here's the job sharing concept of having 2 employees share 1 full-time job. This is a win-win situation. You have employees that need this. They may need to work in the mornings but be able to get off around 2 or 3 or whatever it may be, because their children are they get off the bus at a certain time. You know, that's horrible if you have somebody that needs to work, but yet their family has needs. Anybody want to discuss that? You know, years ago, they used to say, well, if you have family needs, then maybe you should stay home and take care of those family needs. Now, that is definitely wrong. Wrong. It was wrong years ago, and it's actually discriminating. If someone is not given a job because they have children and need to work certain hours, that organization could be reported. Anybody want to comment on that?
I mean, I personally haven't experienced that, but I mean, I've heard of a lot of people who have to rush back to work after like having
Yeah,
babies and things like that. Like, especially in like the dance world, if
yeah,
someone had a child, I mean, they were back to work in less than 3 months, expecting to perform a like professional athletes level
yes, yeah,
job, which
yeah,
is kind of a little absurd.
yeah. And it can be even worse than that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah. You can go out for maternity leave and they just feel that you know, we're not bringing you back.
Yeah, they like find another hire and then they're
Yes.
like, oh, this
Yeah.
person fits our hours better.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, this is discrimination. It really is, and we're going to get into that even more in chapter 14 and 15. It comes up, and there's places that get away with it because people don't feel they have the right to bring it to someone's attention. You know, sometimes they just get away with it, even if you bring it to someone's attention. It's sad. Yeah. But we learn as professionals that you don't do that. Okay, you should be able to accommodate. Probation. Yes, in the food service industry now, professionals generally don't have probation. Probation could be for a skilled and definitely an unskilled worker. That means that a newly hired employee who has not yet demonstrated that he or she can successfully perform the job for which he was hired. As you can see, I think it would be an insult as an RD or a DTR to be hired on probation. What are your thoughts there? I'm not saying it doesn't exist, but I wouldn't take a job as a professional if they say, oh, for the first 2 or 3 months, you'll be on probation. Why would I say no?
It seems like they're just kind of keeping you as a backup plan.
Yeah. And when you're on probation, within that time frame, may it be 60 days or 90 days, they can let you go for no cause at all. You follow what I'm saying? Yeah, yeah, they can just let you go. As professionals, we are typically hired with a contract also. I'm a consultant dietitian. In all of my facilities, I have contracts. I have a contract with Camden County College. Yeah, I'm tenured now, so my contract is even stronger. Okay, but again, I've been tenured for about 6 years now. I lose track of time. But for my first 5 years full time at the college, I was non-tenured. So I had an annual contract. So that meant that at the end of a year, they can let you go for any reason. But once I became tenured, it takes a lot more to let someone go. Now, it doesn't mean, and some people don't like that. They say, oh, you got teachers out there that are tenured and they're not doing their job and this and that. I'm assuming that, 90%, 95% of those tenured teachers are doing a good job. Okay. And I do see that every organization, and again, I'm tenured, but they still evaluate us every 5 years. Like last year, I had to participate for a year. We call it Partners in Learning, where we go through, partnering with somebody, another faculty member, and we sit in each other's class, and we do different assignments. And that's another way of making sure that your tenure faculty are still sharp and, doing a good job. And then we have to write this long report on that other person that you monitored and what did you learn from them and so forth. So it's a good program, and each organization should have something in place to evaluate. But probationary employees, I would see skilled, a cook or a chef. I can definitely see your unskilled workers having probation. Again, this is a set period of time, often 60 or 90 days to learn the job, okay? And again, as I mentioned, probation is without cause. And that means that that person can be dismissed for whatever reason manager feels is appropriate. They might just say, we just don't feel like you're a good fit. They like to say that. And what in the world does that mean? For 60 or 90 days, they decide to let you go because you're not a good fit. They might feel that maybe, I don't know, they may not tell you anything. They'll just say, we decided that, we're not going to continue your employment. And you sit there blindsided. When it comes to probation, I always say that management, if it's 60 days, at least by that 30th day, you need to set up a meeting and sit down with that individual and evaluate them. At least halfway through. If there are areas that they need to improve on, a plan needs to be put in place between you, the manager, and the employee, and discuss what is it that needs to be improved. And what can we do to bring you to that level of performance that you need to be in? I don't think any management should let anyone go through their 60 or 90 days without halfway meeting with them and giving them feedback. This is modern management. Okay, this isn't a classical, traditional, where I'm sure they felt, probation is without cause. So if I don't think by that 60th or 90th day that I want to keep that person, I can just let them go. What are your feelings about that?
I mean, it's kind of unfair to somebody to present an opportunity to them as if they potentially could have a future
Mm-hmm.
organization, and then you just kind of blindsidingly kick them to the curb.
Yeah. And as someone who put in all that effort and time to send out job specifications and going through that whole hiring process just to let someone go. Maybe you didn't need to hire that person from the beginning. Come on. If you had a position and you really need to fill that position, you want that person to be successful.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that person feels that acceptance and feels that support or lack of support. And when you are guiding them through the training process and halfway through probation, you meet with them, you discuss and give them feedback. Again, you want them to succeed. So therefore, you want to fill in those gaps. And right before they reach that 60 or 90 days, you can say, okay, you're going to be hired. Your probationary period is over. So again, sad to say, this without cause. I just feel that you're setting up a person for failure. They can be doing a real good job. Halfway, I think they should be told, like, oh, wow, I really don't see any areas of improvement. Just keep up, what you're doing already. You know your job. You've been, completing your work. Your accuracy, proficiency, whatever it may be, it's been very, acceptable or very good. Evaluate them, give them that positive reinforcement. But again, many times there are areas that need to be improved. They should know that, and a plan should be put in place to improve it. Now, that cause, look, document it. It's generally when you have a contract, because my contract as a consultant, there's something in there that would be a legitimate reason for terminating my contract. At the college, there's something in our contract, because again, I'm a professor. We belong to New Jersey Education Association. So therefore, we have contracts. We're union. We belong to that union. So it's documentation on what would be a cause for termination. Okay. Temporary. So we're still talking about different options to hire workers within your food service department. Temporary is generally could be that you have someone out on sick leave or disability, and you're hoping that medically they can return back to work, but you're going to hire somebody, and this person is hired with a finite period of time for a special project, or to cover a leave of absence, or when there is a transit need for more employees. And I can come up with examples for each one of the cases. A project could be that your facility is giving this formal gala, and you need additional staff to plan for this event. So you'll bring in people just to help with that event. That's an example. Again, you can have somebody on leave of absence. It could be pregnancy leave. It could be, sick leave. They have some type of, a medical reason why they need to be out over a period of time, and you hire someone temporary, or if it's a seasonal food service operation, like what we see at the shore, where, during certain seasons, that restaurant or food service operation just has a higher number of, customers during certain times of the year, okay? Contract, I just mentioned that as a consultant dietitian, I have a contract for my facilities. I also have a contract with the college. What we're finding, and a lot of people may not realize, that if you're working somewhere and you do not have a contract, they can literally let you go with no cause. Does anybody want to speak on that? Have you heard of people being dismissed? Yeah, because go ahead, Amanda.
Not people I personally know, but I mean, I've heard stories
Oh, yeah.
about that. I mean, that's pretty horrendous.
It is. I know a number of people. I have a cousin, and he worked for a company, and it was a good paying job. He must have worked for them a good 30 years. I wouldn't make this up. And he used to travel, and he was like a regional manager, where he would travel to different states. And I think he worked, it was almost like a pharmaceutical company. And one day he was brought in, and they literally told him that they no longer needed his services, that they were downsizing. Just like that. Lost his job. He's a professor now. He teaches, he has his doctorate, but his area is administration. So that's what he majored in business administration. So that's what he did for that company for, I would say, 30 years or so. And they brought him in just like that. His job was gone. Yeah. He didn't have a contract, because if he had a contract, it most likely would have been something in there that they would have at least had to, what would I say? That it would have had to be a process before they would have been able to let him go. Okay. And of course, many of these companies, they're not unionized. So they can downsize at any time, and somebody who had a top position in management, they can immediately be dismissed. So a little bit more about a contract. A worker who is usually hired to complete a project, okay, and who's typically not on the employer's payroll. So not always. Let me give you an example. My contract with my healthcare facilities is, I'm a contract employee, meaning that I'm not on the employer's payroll. I'm paid as a vendor, okay? As an outside service. So I mail them my invoice, okay? And then they pay me for my services. But at the college, I'm on payroll, yet I still have a contract. So you can have a contract whether you're on payroll or you're not on payroll. Let's put it that way, okay? Now, consultant fee, that's what I pay, that's what I charge as a consultant dietitian. Designated amount of remuneration of a contract employee, a fee may be established for the project. Now, there are certain projects I'll do for my facilities. I haven't done a project for a while, but there have been times that I will charge them a fee, maybe to write a new menu, or a fee to come in and do a training in a certain area. But I do bill them for my visits. I have one contract, I go in monthly, and I just picked up another contract, I go in quarterly. Okay? And I do charge an hourly rate. So again, I have a contract with the facility. Within that contract, it has how much they pay me hourly. Okay. Contingent workers. Okay, employees such as temporary or contract employees who know that their work positions are short-term or temporary. So again, there in the food service area, there is a need for some contingent workers. Again, the more flexibility you have, you can meet your different needs by opening up opportunities. And these workers know that they're contingent, that they're only temporary, and that this contract is for a specific amount of time. Okay. Career employees. Some of our food service workers, they've been there so long that they expect to continue working on that job as long as their work performance is adequate. Again, I don't know whether this is what I'm trying to say. Is this a concept that people tend to have? For example, my cousin thought that he was a career employee when he worked for this company, because he felt that he was going to continue working as long as his work performance was adequate. And it was probably much more than adequate. But without a contract, it means that you can be terminated at any time. That's what it really means. And in the food service department, you could have been there for years and years. Without that contract, again, they can really let you go with no cause at all. No cause at all. Oh, I'm past time, folks. Okay, I had to put on my watch earlier. Next Tuesday, I'll pick up, and this is a good spot because I want to be able to focus more on salary and hourly compensation. That's when we get into our exempt and non-exempt. And then that should take us into, our different differential wages. This is a good spot. And then we should be able to start with full-time equivalents next class also. You'll see full-time, yeah, here we go, all right? So this is basically where I wanted to be. I should remember that we're gonna pick up with discussing exempt and non-exempt and just continue with this PowerPoint. Sounds good? All right, have a good one. Email me if you have any questions or concerns.
Alrighty, thank you. Have a good one.
You too. I know. It's just the three of us. Let me see. I don't have another class until